FRM Part 1, Financial Markets and Products. The second aim statement is Mechanics of Futures Market. Under the same statement, we will define and describe the key features of a future contract, including the asset, the contract price, contract size, what is the delivery mechanism, what is the time of delivery, and the limits. We'll also explain the convergence of future price and spot price. Then we'll describe the rationale for margin requirements and explain how do they work in the case of a future contract. Then we describe the role of a clearing house for futures transactions, what role do they play. Then we look at the role of collateralization in the case of over-the-counter market where forward contracts are traded, and then we compare with the futures market where we are using margin system. So the objective is same, so we'll have a comparison there. Then we identify and describe the differences between the normal and inverted futures market. Then we describe the mechanics of delivery process and we contrast it with the cash settlement. Then we define and demonstrate an understanding of impact of a different order types, including market order, limit order, stop loss, stop limit, MIT order, the market discretionary order, the time of the day, open order, and fill or kill or immediate or cancel kind of order. And finally, we'll compare and contrast the forward and future contracts. So let us start with the basics of future contracts. These contracts are basically exchange traded obligations to buy or sell, depends on the position, a certain amount of an underlying good at a specified price and date. So price will be given in the starting itself, the time of delivery will be given, the quality and quantity of the underlying, it could be equity or commodity, and then the position. So these things will be specified and they will be standardized contract which are traded on the exchange. Practically, most future positions are not held to take the delivery of the underlying good. The objective is either to hedge against a position or sometimes a speculative position in underlying, because futures provide you the leverage. So for each contract we are going to have two sides, long and short. The long is the one who is obliged to buy and short is the one who wants to sell. So at the time of expiry of the contract, they are obliged to perform the transaction, but practically there can be multiple mechanisms for termination of this contract. We will see in subsequent slides. So we can take an example here. Suppose there is a commodity X, there is a party A who wants to buy this commodity 1 month from now at a price say $100, and there is another party B which wants to sell it 1 month from now at say $100. The current price might be something different, which is the spot price, and the expectation of spot price in future by both the parties may differ. That brings them to the market where they get into this future contract. So A will hold a long position, B will hold a short position. At the time of expiry, A will buy from B at the price which was predefined, and the mechanism and timing of the delivery will be specified in the future contract. So future contracts could be used for arbitraging, for hedging, or for speculation. So let us understand. Arbitraging is a phenomena where a trader would like to take advantage of mispricing between two assets. In the case of future contract, suppose the spot price is $100, the forward price say 1 year from now is say $108, and the interest rate at which the traders can borrow is say 7%. It says if he borrow and buy the product in cash market, he can buy at $100, and the interest which he has to pay is 7%, and if he keeps the product for 1 year, he can sell at $108. Since he can get into the forward contract, he can short the forward contract in the starting itself so that he can sell at 108. So his cost will be 100 plus interest, which is 107, and the selling price is 108. So $1 will be the gain. So this is risk-free gain. At the time of entering into the contract, the trader would know that he is going to gain $1 at the end of 1 year. So this is risk-free arbitrage. Though such kind of opportunities are rare, but if they arise, they will be arbitraged away, or they will be taken advantage of by some or the other trader. The second activity where the future contracts are very useful is hedging. So if there is a buyer who want to hedge against a price rise, because the buyer wants to buy at a lower price, but he does not want to buy the asset now, he wants to buy at some future date, so he wants to hedge against the price rise. On the other hand, there could be a producer or seller who wants to hedge against price fall because he wants to sell at a higher price. So this hedging activity will bring them together. They can get into a contract where long side and short side meet and reduce their risk. So they are reducing their risk at the cost of upside. So this protection which they are buying through hedging is at the cost of upside. For example, if there was a farmer who wants to sell a product at $100 1 year from now, get into the short contract. So if the price fall to $80, he will gain. He will be able to still sell at $100 because he is hedged. But if price rises say to $120, he has to still sell at $100 because he has to abide by the future contract he has got into. So this upside will be lost, but the downside will be protected. So that is the mechanism of hedging, where we are trying to reduce the risk at the cost of upside potential. And finally, there could be speculation activity where the trader wants to take a position on the underlying movement, and accordingly they get into long or short side of a contract. The difference between trading in cash market and future market for speculation purpose would be that in future market the leverage will be given for a longer duration. So that is the advantage. Let us look at few other definitions. The open interest. So this is one of the most commonly used term for derivatives. This is nothing but total number of long positions or total number of short positions in a contract. So they will be invariably equal to each other, which is known as open interest. The open interest could be even lower than the trading volume of the day, because we know that certain positions may be created in a day and they can be squared off. So they will become the part of the trading volume, but they will not be a part of open interest. So that is how they will be different. Now let us look at how trading happens in the future contract. Suppose there is a trader who is interested in having a long position in a future F. Suppose current future price is say $100. So he gets into a long position. For that he does not have to pay $100. He will pay just the initial margin. For example, it is 10%, so he has to pay only $10 now. There will be certain maintenance margin which he has to maintain. Suppose it is 3%. So in case the price falls to $95, he will lose $5, which will be adjusted against the margin. So his position will be $5. Then if it falls further, say it comes to $92, then he will get a margin call. Since the maintenance margin is 3%, which he is not able to maintain, so he has to again fulfill it to 10%. So he has to pay $8 so that it is again back to $10 level initial margin. So at the end of the day, the profit or losses will be adjusted to market value. It is called mark to market. This is how we are going to trade in futures market. Let us move to the next concept. The features which are specified for a future contract. The first is the quality of underlying asset. As we know, in the case of commodities, there could be different standard products with different kind of quality. So they are standardized to that extent so that there is no confusion at the time of delivery. The delivery time is also specified. So we have different months contract which expire in the last week of the month. Then delivery location is also clearly specified in the contract so that there is no confusion regarding the transportation of the asset. Then the contract size, there is minimum size of the contract which is specified. Then there are daily price limits which are also specified for a particular future contract. There are position limits which are also part of those characteristics specified. Finally, the price quotation and the tick size. Tick size is the minimum movement which can happen over the price. For example, say $100 is the price and say 5.05 is the tick size. So the price can move from say 100.05 to 100.10. It cannot move to any other level between them. So 0.05 is the tick size. This is minimum movement. Let us look at the next concept. The convergence of spot and future. As we know that spot is the current price of an asset and the future is the price of the contract which is going to expire at a future date. So at that date, the spot price will be equal to the future price. So they are going to converge. The difference between the spot price and the forward price is known as basis. Generally, the spot price will be less than the forward price. So negative basis. For example, current price of a particular stock is say 100. This is spot. And the forward price is say 102. So there is a relationship between spot and forward. They are connected through the interest rate, because we have seen in the last slide there is a relationship. If that relationship is not maintained, there is an arbitrage situation between spot and future, and through cash future arbitrage the trader will take advantage of the situation and such inefficiency will be gone. So based on that, we can say that the interest rate cost is going to be 0 at the time of expiry of the contract, and the value of spot will equal to future price. So we also have the formula where forward price equal to spot into e to the power RT. We know the value of interest rate will be given and time will become 0 at the time of expiry. So F will be equal to S. So there will be 0 basis at that time. So we know that near maturity it will converge to 0. So we can understand that through arbitrage example. Suppose just before expiry the spot price becomes say 101 and the future contract is trading at 102. So at that time one can take a position in stock. He can buy the stock at $101 and he can get into a contract where he is promising to sell. So he is shorting the future at 102. Since there is no other cost involved, it is just before the expiry. So at the time of expiry, he can immediately sell at 102 and deliver the product. So he is gaining $1. So this is the arbitrage profit, which indicate the inefficiency in the market. So in order to maintain an efficient market, we do not have such arbitrage situations. So they are going to converge completely to each other so that the basis becomes 0 at the time of expiry. Now let us move to the next concept, margin trading. So we'll understand the functioning of margin trading here. Margin trading is basically a credit risk mitigation mechanism. So we are trying to mitigate the credit risk which could arise from the credit exposure to another party. So we are going to have an initial margin and because of that we get the leverage in a contract. Suppose the initial margin is 10%. That means in order to take a position of $100 million, we need to just provide $10 million as initial margin. So there will be a leverage of 10 times. The next concept is maintenance margin. This is the margin which has to be maintained in the account. When there is a price change, the margin will fall. So this is the minimum margin which has to be maintained in the account. For example, a trader has gone into a long position at $100 million. Suppose he bought 1 million shares, 1 million contracts of $100 each, and the price falls to say 95, from $100 to $95. So there is a 5% fall. So he has already given 10%, which is $10 million. So his maintenance margin, his margin will fall to 5 million because of the 5 million loss which he has incurred due to this price fall. So if the maintenance margin is 5%, for example, then he will get a margin call at this point. He has already lost 5 million and minimum margin which has to be maintained is 5 million. Or we can take another case where it falls further to $94 and the margin will remain to $4 million. So since there is a loss of 6 million here, so only $4 million will be left in the account, which is less than the maintenance margin of 5%. So it has to be again made equal to 10%, which is initial margin. So in case there is a margin call, when the margin falls below maintenance, it has to be put back to the initial margin level. So in this case, the trader has to provide $6 million more so that he can gain the initial margin level once again. So this is how the trading functions at the margin level. So here we are marking the profit or losses to the market and adjusting that with the margin so that we can mitigate the credit risk. So that is the main objective here. In the case of futures which are traded on the exchange, this is how we mitigate the credit risk. The next concept is a variation margin. This is nothing but the amount which has to be given to put it back to the initial margin level. So in this case it is $6 million. So this is the amount which has to be put in the case of margin call, where the margin balance is made equal to the initial margin. Let us move to the next topic, the clearing house. Clearing house is nothing but an intermediary in future transactions. where the investor maintains the margin account with their broker, the broker maintains their margin account with the clearinghouse member, and finally the clearinghouse member maintains their margin account with clearinghouse itself. This is called clearing margin. So clearinghouse indirectly maintains all the margins, so it takes care of the possible losses so that it can adjust profit and losses of different members. So at the end of the trading day, the margin accounts for clearinghouse members are adjusted for various gains and losses in the same way as the margin account of investors are adjusted at the broker's place. So this was the broad idea about the clearinghouse mechanism. Now let us look at the settlement. The settlement price is similar to the closing price, but it is not exactly equal to the last traded price of the day. It is an average of all the prices in last period. So this period will be defined by the exchange. In that period, all the prices are taken at which the trading was taking place, and the average is taken, which is called the settlement price. So this is the price which is going to be used for margin calculations. So this last period or last closing period is set by the exchange itself. So this is used to make margin calculations at the end of each trading day. So the main objective behind this settlement price calculation is that we can avoid any manipulations from the traders. If it had one particular last trading price, it will be very prone to the manipulations, but it is average of closing period, so there is a very little possibility of any manipulation. Now before we start the concept of over the counter market, let us understand one more concept of normal and inverted market situation. So depending on the direction of the movement of future contracts over the period of time will give us the idea about the market is normal or inverted. So for that we need to look at the future contracts. For example, we are looking at near month, suppose it is May, the next month suppose June, and the far month which is July. Suppose the future price is 100 for May month, 101 for June month, and 102 for July month. So this is the value of future contract for a particular asset. So this represents, since the prices are rising, a normal market. As we understand from the concept of time value of money and the interest rate relationship between these future prices, we understand that if the prices are higher in the next month contract, that says normal market. But due to such circumstances, it could be even opposite. So where suppose for May month it is 100, for June month it is 99, and say for July month it is 98. So this would be called a inverted market. So this was the difference between these two. Now let us look at the over the counter market. As we know, in the case of over the counter market, there is a credit risk involved, since the counterparty might fail to pay the obligation, so that give rise to a credit risk. Since there is no exchange involved in between which is taking responsibility for the payment, the credit risk will be higher in the case of over the counter market. So to mitigate this credit risk, we do not have any margin requirement kind of system which was there in the futures case. We have collateralization. So we have a collateral in the case of over the counter market. For example, for forward or swap kind of contracts. So here this mechanism is going to help for credit risk mitigation. So even for the case of over the counter market, there is a clearing house which will help in the transaction process in the case of over the counter market. Let us move to the next concept, which is the delivery process. So the future contract can be terminated in 4 different ways. So one simple way is just taking the delivery of the asset. So the short can terminate the contract by delivering the goods to the long, and long can accept the delivery and pay for the product to the short, and this contract price is already mentioned in the document. So this is the simple process of delivery through which we can terminate a future contract. There could be another way where it is cash settled contract, where the future account is marked to market based on the settlement price on the last day of the trading. So there will be no delivery in this case. So there will be a gain on one side and loss on the other side. Suppose the price has moved up, so the long will gain and short will lose in the same amount. So the gain will be paid to the long, and if the price falls, then short will gain and long will lose. So accordingly the amount will be paid from long to short in that case. So there will be no delivery of the asset, underlying asset, only the cash settlement will be there. Then there could be a third delivery process, which is reversing or closing a trade. Suppose somebody has taken a long position earlier in a particular contract. If short position has been taken after a few days in the same underlying same contract, then clearinghouse will close the trade. So it will be reversed. And the fourth mechanism to terminate a future contract will be settling a trade through physical exchange in ex-pit transaction. So this is off the exchange transaction where the exchange is not involved. So one long has found another short position, and those traders are doing certain exchange of physical goods and settling the trade accordingly. So this will be off the exchange. Now let us move to the next concept, which is the types of order. So in the market there are different kinds of orders. Each of them has a different purpose to facilitate the objective of the trader. So one order is the market order, where the quantity is given by the trader but the price is not given. Price is just the market price. So whatever will be the price available, the order will be executed at that. For example, if somebody wants to buy 100 shares and in the order book the bid shows certain price, say $50, and the ask says $51. So that means we can buy at 51 or we can sell at $50. So there will be a bid ask spread to ensure the liquidity in the market. So if 100 shares are available, then the order will be executed at $51 since it is a market order. Suppose at $51 there are 50 shares available, and at $52 another 50 shares are available. Then market order will take 50 shares at $51 and 50 shares at $52. So the market price is not fixed but determined by the market. The another variation in the market order could be discretionary market order, where there could be certain amount of delay which trader wants in the market. Another kind of order could be limit order. So the limit order is the price. Suppose for a long contract, say the limit price is 100, which says that the order should get executed if the price of 100 or below is available to buy. Similarly, for short side or for selling side, if the limit price is 100, it says we can sell at 100 or above 100. So that is the concept of limit order. So it could be of two kinds, the time limit or without time limit. So if it is without time limit, it will be good till cancelled. So it will be open order. Unless the trader cancels it, it will be live in the market, and as soon as the price reaches in the limit, it will get executed. Then we have with time limit orders, where one kind could be IOC, immediate or cancel. We also call it fill or kill. So if the limit price is available in the market, it will get immediately executed. If that price is not available, then it will get cancelled. So let us take one example. Suppose A wants to buy a share, one share at say $50, and in the market suppose bid is 49 and ask is 50. So he will be able to buy one share at $50, so order will be immediately executed. But let us take another case. Suppose it is 50-51. So he will be able to buy only at 51. The price is not available, so it will be immediately cancelled. It will not wait for price to change in its favor. It will immediately cancel the order. In certain kinds of pure arbitrage situations, we send immediate or cancel kind of order. Then another case of with time limit order could be good till day. So the limit order will be there in the market till the end of trading for that particular day. Similarly, it could be good till week. So these were the different kinds of limit order. Then we can have stop loss orders, where if the price moves in opposite direction beyond a certain point, it will come out of the trade. For example, if someone has bought a share at $100 and the stop loss is at say $95, so that says he believes that price will go above 100 since he has bought at 100, but in case the market starts moving in opposite direction or unfavorable direction, it will wait till it touches the level of $95. But as soon as it touches that level, it will exit from the trade. It will send the sell order. So $5 loss will be booked. So the basic objective is to avoid large losses. So that is the main objective of stop loss order. Then there could be stop limit order. As we have seen in the case of stop loss orders, when the stop loss is triggered, the order is sent at the market price. So it is not a limit order, it is a market order. At whatever price the order get executed, we are exiting from the trade. But in the case of stop limit order, when the limit is touched, instead of a market order, a limit order is sent. So we still tries to buy at a better price. Then we can have market if touched order. So these are the specific orders where there is a limit given. As soon as that limit is touched, the market order is sent in the market. So this is the price limit. As soon as it is touching that level, the market order is being sent. So order will get executed at a market price. So what is the conceptual difference between sending a limit order and the market order? So while someone is sending a limit order, he tries to get a good price, but there is a risk of movement. Since limit order will take time to get executed, since it is waiting in the market for the price to touch that level, there is a risk of adverse movement. And in the case of market order, we are executing the order immediately, so we may not get a good price. The price may not be favorable to that extent, since we might be giving up the edge. The spread we are going to sacrifice there, but we are avoiding a risk of adverse movement. Since the order will be executed immediately, we are avoiding the risk of adverse movement in this case. So that were the basics of the topic. Let us take a few questions here. First question says, which of the following is not a characteristic specified in a future contract? So we know that delivery time is specified. The quality of the asset is also specified in the future contract. The quantity of asset in a particular contract is also specified. The collateral details will not be specified since they are the part of forward contract. So they are not there in the future contract, since the credit risk mitigation is managed with the help of margin requirement in the case of future contract and not through the collaterals. So D is the right option. Let us look at question number 2. It says a trader holds a long position in a commodity future with the following characteristics. The initial margin is $1,000. The maintenance margin is $250. the contract price is $2,500 and each contract include 100 units. So it is a long position at 2,500. So there are 1,000 shares in that contract. Initial margin is 1,000. So the price drops to 2,495. So there's a drop of $5. And since there are 100 units, there will be a drop of $500. Initial margin is $1,000 and maintenance margin is $250. So our margin remain 500. 1,000 minus 500 is $500. So there will be no maintenance margin call at the end of the first day. But at the end of the second day, when the price becomes 2,492, there is a loss of $8 on one contract. So on 100 shares it will be 800. Now 1,000 minus 800 is 200. So maintenance margin will be more than this. Our margin remains at 200. The maintenance margin is at 250. So there will be a margin call at the end of second day. So the question says, at the end of second day, which of the following is the closest to the variation margin which will be required at the end of second day? As we have seen, there is going to be a margin call since the margin level drops below the maintenance margin. So in order to bring the margin back to the level of initial margin, how much we need to put? It is already 200. We need to make it 1,000. So we need to put $800 more so that it becomes equal to the initial margin. So C remains the right answer. Now let us move to next question. Question number 3 says, all of the following orders may never be executed except, let us see which orders can be executed, can never be executed. Market order will be immediately executed if there is a liquidity. The limit order may never be executed if it does not satisfy the price limit criteria. It may never be executed. Similarly, stop loss order, the stop loss may never trigger if the price keeps moving in the favorable direction. Such kind of order may never be executed. Then immediate or cancel order also may never be executed. It might get cancelled immediately. So answer remains A. Except A, all of the following orders may never be executed. Let us take the next question. It says, which of the following is false regarding a forward contract? It is traded on over the counter, which is false, since the forward, which is true, since the forward contract is actually traded on over the counter and the future contract is traded on the exchange. So this is true. It may include collateral. This is also right. The forward contract may use collateralization in order to mitigate the credit risk. C says it is fully standardized, which is wrong. The future contracts are fully standardized by the exchange. Forward contracts are not. And it can be used for hedging activities, which is true. Forward or future, either of them can be used for hedging. So C is the right answer. Let us look at question number 5. A future trader is concerned about the credit risk on a particular futures contract. Will the process of collateralization protect him? Let us look at the options. First one says the collateral is posted and the losses are guaranteed by the exchange, thus he will be protected. As we know, for futures contract there is a mechanism of margin requirements and not the collateralization. Collateralization is used for over the counter contracts. So this is wrong. Option B says collateral is held by the exchange and losses are covered via collateral at the conclusion of contract term. This is also wrong, since collateral is not held by the exchange. Option C says there is no collateralization process in the over the counter market. This is right up to that extent. Thus he is not protected. This is wrong. He still be protected through another mechanism. Option D says there's a mark to market feature. That is correct for futures contract, and the losses are settled in cash daily, thus he will be protected, which is the right option. So this is true in the case of futures contract. Now let us move to question number 6. It says initial margin deposits for future accounts are set by Federal Reserve for the US markets. No, it is set by the clearing house. The clearing house will set the initial margin deposit, not the Federal Reserve. So this is wrong. Are typically 50% of the purchase price. This is also wrong. Usually they are small, about 5 to 10% of the purchase price. C says they are usually larger for short position. As we know that the margin deposits are going to be same for both long position and short position. The clearing house will charge same amount from both sides. So C is also wrong. Option D says they are based on price volatility. That is right. The clearing house will find out the volatility in that particular underlying, and based on that it will define initial margin. So D is the right option. Let us look at question number 7. It says all of the following are methods to close out a future position except delivery of underlying commodity. Yes, this is one of the most simple method for closing out a future position. Engaging in offsetting trade in the futures market. That is also true. Offsetting trade means closing out the position. Through an exchange for physicals with another trader, we have already seen. Yes, this is also a mechanism through which we can close out a future position. The last one says allowing the contract to expire without taking action. This is not a mechanism to close out a future position. So D remains the right answer. Let us take one more question. Question number 8. It says a similarity of margin accounts for both equities and future is that for both, option A says the interest is charged on margin loan balance. As we already know that in the case of equities there is no interest. Sorry, in the case of futures there is no loan. Then the initial margin is effectively paid to the seller of the security by the buyer. As we know that in the case of futures, no margin is paid to the seller. Even the seller has to pay the margin to the clearing house. So this is not a similarity again. Third one says the additional payment will be required if the margin falls below maintenance margin. So this is true for both equities and futures. If the losses are higher and the margin falls below the maintenance margin, additional payment has to be made. Margin call will be made for additional payments. So C is the right answer, the similarity between the two. And option D says the value of security is the collateral for the loan. For futures there is no collateral. C is the right answer. So this was about the mechanics of futures market.